All right, so we're at the Church of Avery today.
Yeah.
In Gracey-Mare, and now we're at something a little bit different.
Yes.
A little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger, a little bit more catty.
Yeah, a bit more feline. A bit more meowy.
Very, very sexy.
Very meowy.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah.
What is it we're doing it really?
Yeah.
Other than staring at it.
And staring at it is a very nice thing.
Well, that's
to do.
enough, really, isn't it?
That's
what a lot of people come here to do.
Yeah. So obviously I don't know the complete story of this thing.
No.
That's what we're here for you to tell me.
Yeah.
But I'm judging by the place of where we are.
Yep.
We can judge, kind of start at the beginning of the story. So
Yep.
D-Day, where we were today at Juno Beach.
Yep.
Went quite swimmingly actually.
Yep.
Obviously now the job of the Allies is to break further in ground.
Yep.
So the Brits and the Canadians head up to take Caen.
Yeah.
The Americans go down to take St. Lo.
Yep.
And then Montgomery orders to converge on Falaise.
Yep.
And after a failed counterattack from Hitler as well.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that this one didn't make it out the gap.
It didn't. So we're just near where we've literally just come through now. Is little Vimoutiers down there, at the end of the road. Not that far. Literally, you can see the buildings there in the village. If the trees weren't there, you'd see it's actually fair size. So when the gap was closing, the Falaise Gap, it was closing right around the Vimoutiers area, around here where we are now. And obviously, the Germans have been beaten back since we're in August now, isn't it? When the gap was closing. Yeah. And Allies arrived in June, so for a few months now they've been fighting relentlessly against this just ever growing in size force. With an air force that completely dwarfs their own.
Yeah. I guess moving by daylight wasn't a very wise idea, was it? You're going to get fighter planes coming straight for you and rocket you and take you out.
So they've just suffered brutal attrition, and by this point they haven't really got much left to give. It's basically the conclusion of the Battle of Normandy, isn't it, really? Yeah,
that's the last foray, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So as always, when something like that's happening, like when you have a gap and your enemy's closing the gap pretty quick, what it then becomes is a race to get out as fast as you can. And you're trying to leg it to get as much out as you can before the enemy closes it and you've lost everybody inside. Yeah. So the Allies are coming. They know they're coming. The situation is pretty dire. So then, it becomes a race to get out. So this Tiger is one of them. It's from the 102nd, believed to be from the 102nd SS Heavy Tank Battalion. Yeah. And it's coming up this road, August. It's coming up this road from Vimoutiers. And let me get that in focus. There we go. So he's coming up this road, and it's not entirely clear what he was trying to do. Yeah. It seems like he was trying to get to a fuel dump, because there was one down the road, literally just up there. So south of Vimoutiers.
So he was coming up this very road to get to a fuel dump.
He was going that way, up there, likely to get to a fuel depot in a little village just 3 miles away down that road. Yeah. It could have been a mechanical breakdown. Yeah. I've heard that as well. But considering there is a fuel dump down there, it kind of makes a bit of sense.
It's a safe guess.
Yeah, that he's running out of fuel.
To be fair, with the German stuff, it's probably a safe guess. It's a mechanical issue as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of fair enough for either. But these things were thirsty, and fuel was pretty scarce for the Germans. So, and like you say, they tended to break quite a bit. Yeah. So either one's a possibility. So the tank gets up to here, and it seems like it runs out of fuel. Okay. Right around here. The crew hop out, and under orders, as they're trained to do, they set explosive charges inside the Tiger to sabotage it. So it can't be reused, can't be captured, can't end up in the enemy hands in any useful condition. Yeah. So the tank's blown. The damage from the charges, you can still see, because it blasted up through these roof plates here. Can you see?
Oh yeah.
See along there?
Yeah.
That's the roof plates blown upwards from the blast inside. So it must have been a hell of a thud.
Yeah, right.
And
they came with that, didn't they? The Tigers, that they were under strict orders that if you're going to lose it, if you have to bail out, that's quite a common story, isn't it? That they then they're not having that fall into Allied hands.
It still happens today. Like, and if you can't do it yourself, you can call in artillery.
Yeah.
You can call in support from your own side.
Yeah. Happens with ships quite a lot as well, where you need to scuttle your own vessel.
Yeah.
And that's quite a common story. So you call in a torpedo strike from a neighbouring ship.
Yeah.
After obviously the lads are out.
Yeah.
So he's done that. He's not scuttled, but blown his own.
His crew have blown him up.
Yeah.
He's now wrecked, and he's in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
So the crew scarper, and then eventually the Allies arrive.
Yeah.
Crikey. I'll wait for the second bike battalion to dip.
Got DRs out.
Yeah. So the tanks are in the middle of the road, and the Allies can eventually come.
Yeah.
And this is a useful road. Supplies are moving continuously. People are moving their equipment, men along here. So the Allies do what they do and just went to get out the way.
Yeah, you go now.
You go now. Get out my road. They bulldoze him off.
Yeah.
Push him to the side of the road, and then he's in the ditch next to the road for the next 30 years.
30 years?
30 years, yeah.
Just in a bush?
In a hedge, yeah.
All right.
On the side of the road.
For 30 years and no one thinks to...
Well, they just got used to it. The villagers just got used to it. Well, immediately after the war, the scrapping drives, a local scrap dealer bought it.
Yeah, okay.
And he was going to cut it up, obviously, as you would.
Yeah.
You've got 50 tonnes of steel sat here.
Yeah.
But I never really understood why, but for whatever reason, he struggles to cut it up. I get why, but there's tanks all over the place that are getting cut up. I'm not sure why this was the one that seemed to avoid that fate, but so the scrap dealer kind of takes everything he can off it, the lighter stuff.
Yeah.
And eventually he passed away. The ownership of the tank falls to his sister.
Okay.
And she then sells it to a scrap dealer in Caen.
Yeah.
Who is a little bit more heavy duty kit.
Right, okay.
So they then come down here and they literally do start cutting it up.
Right.
They get the gas torches out and they get to work on this. So you can see this is often mistaken for the blast marks.
Right, yep.
You often see people saying that these little lines on the turret here are from when the crew sabotaged it. They're not. They're actually, see there, they're actually gas torch cutting axes.
So I bet that makes it quite difficult. You've got to identify what's gas axe.
Yeah.
And what's sabotaging.
Yeah, and they've got quite distinct differences. Like if you use a gas axe, you'll know pretty quick what they look like.
Yeah, of course.
But yes, they're not cracks from the sabotage. They are gas torch marks. So the scrappers start cutting it up. But by this point, the villagers are pretty attached to it. They quite like their tiger.
Yeah, in the bush.
Yeah, their hedge tiger. So they kick off.
He's part of the furniture now, isn't he? He's part of the family.
Yeah. So yeah, they kick off, and eventually they club together, and they get enough money to buy the tank off the Caen scrap dealer.
Wow. Okay. How much was it? Do you know?
I've no idea.
No. Okay.
No idea. Probably got to be more than 2 or 3 quid, surely. Got to be at least 20 euros.
No.
Saying quid. Yeah. I mean euro.
Don't know if I'll give him a Mars bar for that.
You club together, they get out the cash. A couple of francs, I imagine, at least. They club together, they buy the tank off the scrap dealer.
Yeah.
And because they're pretty attached to it, they go, you know what? We can actually do something with this. Maybe leaving it in a hedge is not the best way. Yeah, it's not the best financial. I hope the guy who came up with that idea, I hope he doesn't run a business, because that isn't very smart. So then pull it out and they plonk it literally on this concrete plinth down here.
Yeah. And they do nothing to it.
Nope.
They leave it in place. They don't refurb it. They don't paint it.
All they do is they paint it.
Oh, so that's not the real paint job on it?
Nothing like it.
No, okay.
It's completely made up.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things people notice by it immediately. And it's got darker over the years, which to be honest has kind of helped things. But at the same time, you know, it was an era where you're just trying to. It's a small French village.
Yeah.
It's not. They don't have access to documents for the historical records of what they should have been painting at. It was just people who doing what they can.
They should have googled it.
They should have just googled it.
Google it.
But people do what they can, and that's why I think getting too hung up on memorial.
Yeah.
How these are painted.
Exactly.
You know, it's for people trying their best, isn't it? I don't think there's much problem with it.
So what year is this?
In the 70s. The 70s. This is dragged onto here.
Yeah.
And the one thing that is noticeable is where it is sat on the concrete pad underneath, and that's because when the crew blew the sabotage the inside, the torsion bars went.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you can
Okay.
see the tank sat like literally on the ground,
almost jacked up.
Yes,
by concrete.
The pad is sort of holding it up a little bit. You can see where it was sat. All the suspensions collapsed. All the torsion bars inside were all let go.
Yeah,
they've all released. So that's pretty much brings us to today, really.
Yeah. So it's sat here ever since the 1970s.
Yep. Hasn't moved.
Yeah.
Hasn't gone anywhere.
It did used to not have a fence on it, didn't it?
Yeah, it didn't have a fence.
Because people like to tell you that on the internet.
Yeah.
So
it didn't have a fence. It now does have a fence. There's a massive thing about this online. When people see it, they typically get very annoyed that it's outside. I mean, it's completely a personal opinion, but I think it's. But by this point, everything on it that can be taken has been stolen. It's either got taken off by the scrappers or it's been nicked.
Yeah.
Everything that's left on there now, you're not getting off without some pretty heavy equipment. You're going to get spotted pretty quickly when you rock up with a 50-ton crane.
I mean, it's a good opportunity to see what a tiger would look like, bare bones.
Exactly, and literally where it was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it's a nice touch, personally.
I like it.
My opinion.
I like it. I think this from a historical perspective, I think it's now. We have other tigers.
Yeah.
There is other tigers in the world. There's ones in restoration. We have ones in museums. We have a running tiger.
Yeah.
I think this one is now more valuable.
Yeah.
As a part of the battlefield that's still around.
Yeah.
I think it's more valuable as that now than it is as a restored tiger. Because people want to see it restored. I mean, the money this would take to restore this would be mind blowing.
It's blown to bits and got gas cut marks in it.
Yeah, the whole thing inside would need to be rebuilt. There is the Maybach is actually still in the back.
Really?
Rusted away.
Oh, right, okay. So you didn't want to get that out then?
No. You can see there that on this side of the turret is more gas cut marks.
Yeah.
And they run behind, so they go up the turret.
Yeah.
And then they run along behind the mantlet.
Okay.
And there's one that runs along the centre of the turret going to the back and then back down. So what it seems like they tried to do is cut the turret lengthways in half.
Right.
And then the whole mantlet section off as well. So I think what the scrappers are trying to do is pull that whole gun mantlet section out from that cut forward, and then the horseshoe at the back would be cut in half.
Yeah.
And you can see there's a gas cut down the back. Right there, almost in the centre of the turret.
Yeah, I see.
So it's saving having to lift the whole turret off there, which is going to be a bit of a heavy old girl.
Yeah.
Also the engine decks are kind of disappeared now.
Right, okay.
The ones at the back, they're Panzer IVs.
Oh,
so
really?
It's still actually fairly valuable in their own right. But it's not exactly like just a piece of tin like on other vehicles after those. You can see the exhaust, the armoured shrouds for the exhaust.
She's bare bones, isn't she?
Yeah, they're all gone. Those threads there around those the holes on the back you see there, that's where the exhaust pipes are poked out.
Right.
The quite iconic Tiger with the metal shrouds around them. But under those metal shrouds they had a thick cast armoured cover.
Yeah.
And you see that's them threads where they were bolt on.
That's where they go on.
Yeah, and that's all gone now. And to be honest, I imagine they were probably taken by the scrapper at the time. I couldn't imagine many people were going to turn up here and
get the M10s out.
Chuck an armoured shroud. Yeah, get the Dugger out and chuck an armoured shroud on the back of their Clio and drive away with it.
Well, saying that, I reckon we could get some bits in the back of the pickup.
Might fit.
We get the gun in there.
I reckon get the whole thing in there.
We'd get on the ferry, wouldn't we?
Yeah, it'd be alright. Customs wouldn't even question it. An 88mm gun, that's alright, mate. That's no problem.
I could flirt my way out of it, mate. I've got pretty eyes.
It's only tiny, isn't it? Don't weigh much. So the one thing that mainly comes up when you show this as well is, well, like what they're going to do with it because it's rusting away.
Yeah.
Again, like obviously we'd all love a perfectly mint Tiger, but at the same time, everything, like I said, that can be removed has been removed.
It's gone.
All that's left is steel.
It's not
like
rushing
that.
away.
It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Eventually, obviously, it will.
Yeah.
But we're all going to be dead by that point.
Yeah.
It's going to outlast all of us. I don't think there's any worry that again as a battlefield relic.
Yeah.
I like the bunkers there. A lot of them will get covered by dunes, and eventually, in a long period of time, they'll be disappeared as well. It's it's part of it. It depends what you value really. But again, there's usually a lot of anger at the locals while they're not doing anything with it.
Well, it could have gone to the scrap.
Exactly. So they've already saved it. But it's there's a lot of like, well, why don't they do something with it? Why don't they put it in a museum, or why don't they send it to Samur or Bovey? And it's like, well, the thing is it's a bit of a rock and a hard place, because this now brings in loads of tourism to this village.
Of course.
There's otherwise a fairly small little town, and this is now. I mean, we're here to come see this.
Bought some ciders from here earlier.
That's it. We'll have some nice cider and some cheese.
Well, you won't, 'cause you're driving.
I won't. You will, and I don't like cider, so.
And you don't drink, mate.
I don't drink, so you have some cider. But yeah, so people obviously get funny at them, but at the end of the day, this village has been kind of gifted something. The war kind of actually left them a benefit after the fact.
That's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah, and if they give it to a museum, well, they just opted to remove a massive source of people coming into their town.
Yeah.
And then you give it to a museum, and they've now got to find a way to get this thing running. So it's not really ever going to happen. I think the only thing the best thing to do with it would be probably put a little sheet over it.
Yeah, okay.
A little den. One of the Panthers in Belgium had that. But
all right. What's that going to stop? Stop that? I'll fix the front plate?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to do a huge amount at this point, is it? It's more just to kind of satisfy people, I guess.
Yeah, but
get them off their back.
Satisfy. They'll find someone else to moan about them, won't they?
Yeah. That's it. I think.
Would they give it away if it was in their hedge?
Yeah,
because I know I wouldn't. Mine's staying in the hedge.
I'm keeping my tiger.
And no nasty comments online. Will ever get me to change my mind.
Yeah. That's it. So it's like, well, are they going to choose to get rid of it? And then also, you've now lost. So there's only 2 in the world, tigers that are outside permanently.
Yeah. Where's the other one? It's Russia, isn't it?
Russia, yes, near Moscow. And that one's shot to bits.
Right. Okay.
This one is. There is actually a few little dents, gun marks, and little scrapes from some smaller stuff on it. But as tigers, as a war relic, this is actually in very good condition.
Yeah.
It's not a range target or anything like the Shermans we saw the other day.
I mean, to be honest, everyone should just be happy that it didn't go to the scrapyard.
Exactly. It's here. It's literally a piece of the Battle of Normandy, Flay's Gap, sat here. You can just come and have a look at.
Yeah.
And I think it's more valuable as that now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah, it's very nice to look at.
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, so that's all. What have we got next then? A bunker. A Junker.
I was hoping you were going to say beer and a beach, but...
No, you've got to save the ciders, mate.
Oh.
And the cheese. Actually, you have to eat all the cheese.
Much?
I'm going to get 10 kilos in addition. You've got to eat all that before we get to that bunker.
That's right, mate. You're staying in a Jeep with me tonight, so you can enjoy the smell.
Yes. All right, cool.